In our series on why churches are so-called closing, although we don't want to use that term, we're calling it renewing, restructuring, why they have to do that, merge and so on, pare down and all that. The first thing we said was that it was a sheer matter of numbers, of human beings that aren't walking the earth anymore, human beings that were even Catholic human beings, for whom the churches that are now closing were built for, and the schools. The human beings just aren't there. And we said number one reason was because Catholics embraced the contraceptive worldview against the warning of the church. And I notice that there's a deflection of culpability, and even by the comments about what I'm saying in these posts. Right away we jump to someone else. The clergy sex abuse, that's what it is. Or that Catholics just aren't going to church anymore. Big percentage of Catholics aren't going. That's the problem. Well, numerically, the fact is, even if all the Catholics that should be going to church go back to church, all of them, you still do not have the numbers that we had before, which occasioned the building of all these churches and schools decades ago. You still would not have it. See, we don't want to look at that because in this subject, I notice we're deflecting personal culpability and right away blaming the hierarchy, the clergy, the no good bishops, closing our church. In this factor of the contraceptive worldview and the family size, there's a two-part culpability. And I'm coming back to this because this is the source of it. I know you don't want to hear it. You want to deflect that. This is the source of it. Remember, I'm not PC. I'm BC. I'm Byzantine Catholic. We're different. We're different kind of priests. We go after the truth. We're not afraid because we've suffered, we've been kicked around inside the church and outside the church. So you're not going to like a lot of what I say. I'm not going to smooze you. I'm not going to make you feel good. But I am going to try and help you grow in holiness and achieve salvation. But that requires truth on my part. A truth that the clergy in this day and age are oftentimes afraid to deliver to you. You might get offended, might get mad, and leave and take your checkbook with you. Oh, yeah. Sometimes clergy are even told not to talk about these things. Don't you dare, bishops will sometimes tell clergy, don't you dare even mention contraception from the pulpit. So where else are you going to get the right teaching? The contraceptive worldview is the single greatest factor in all the merging and all the restructuring that has to be done. We just physically do not have the human beings. And if they all come back to church. Now, two-part capability. First the laity, and then the clergy. But there maybe is a third factor. What happened was when Humanae Vitae came out, the church's teaching against artificial birth control by Pope Paul VI. When that came out, there was an assumption that wove through the church and through seminaries and the priesthood that, the church is wrong, the Pope's wrong on this, and it's going to change. So don't bother talking to your people about it. Don't teach your people about it. And they didn't teach us much in the seminary about it at all, actually, yeah. So the priests who were to guide and counsel laity in this were ill-equipped. Not only ill-equipped, but they actually had the wrong counseling. They told many of you, it's not my business to be in the bedroom and just do what your conscience says. I know a lot of you heard that. So there was a culpability by the clergy, yes, by the church. But it's also because we were deceived by the devil, the evil. The devil wanted in the worst way for us to go down the path of contraception. He knew that would change everything. And he was very clever and told the priest, don't worry about it. The church is going to change. Don't teach that to your people. But when priests did, and some did, and bishops did, and the Pope did teach about artificial contraception, the church's teaching on that and life, those that did were not taken seriously. And so the vast majority of Catholics have embraced the contraceptive worldview. I know you don't want to hear that. You don't want to feel guilty about it, I know. You want to deflect the blame towards the no good bishops and clergy and the people that aren't going to church. It should be. But I'm telling you, the shrinkage of family size is the number one factor while we're in this mess. We're reaping what we sowed. Now, it's not entirely your fault as lady, because I said you did get the wrong teaching. And the priests got the wrong teaching too, sort of a poison that got into their thinking in the seminary. But this is the number one factor. And we cannot deflect culpability. The clergy cannot, nor can the laity, deflect culpability on the issues, especially this one, that has brought us to the point now where we have to close our church and merge and so on. We'll get into all the other factors as well. Yes, we'll get into the clergy sex abuse and all that. We'll get into all the factors. But remember, I'm not PC. I'm not here to rub your back and make you feel good and say what you want me to say and relieve you of any culpability. I'm BC, I'm Byzantine Catholic. And on this, I'm going to speak the truth. If you can handle it, stay tuned.